The following program is sponsored by CBN.
Today,
money was flying everywhere.
Addicted to stripping.
How do you say no to that?
Watch what scared her off the stage.
That set off this reign of terror in me.
Plus,
every single revival will affect public policy.
Wall Builders David Barton takes us inside this precarious moment in American history on today's 700 Club.
Well, welcome, folks, to this edition of the 700 Club. Today, the day of mourning for our late president, George Bush. We're a great man. We talked about him, and we still keep him in remembrance. And this is a ceremony, and the government shut down, the stock market's down, and so this is the time that we stand kind of quietly in remembrance of this great man. But in the news, there's a man named Mohammed bin Salman. He's one of the princes in Saudi Arabia, and they have a whole bunch of princes. And, Hafiz, the head of the Al Saud family took over Arabia and called it Saudi Arabia. And they've got a whole family, and they've got all these princes. And this guy, MBS they call him, has taken over, and he's been running it like a mafia gang. He locked up a bunch of his fellow princes, extorted a huge amount of money from them. It was unbelievable. And now, apparently, this journalist who worked with the Washington Post and may have, I don't know if he had an American citizenship, but he certainly lived here, was murdered in Turkey. And the president has not wanted to deal with it. But the Republicans now in the Senate are saying, listen, we're not going to sweep this one under the rug, and this crown prince has got to pay for what he's done. And I think that's appropriate. I don't think we'll lose the relationship with Saudi Arabia because there are a whole lot of other princes over there who are more than willing to dance on the grave of their fellow and to get back in power. And to see him go down, there wouldn't be a tear shed in Saudi Arabia. But so far, the president has been unwilling to criticize this ally because they think he represents Saudi Arabia, and he doesn't.
Well, Pat, several senators want to hold the Saudis accountable, and after the CIA director briefed Capitol Hill Tuesday, they have no doubt that the Crown Prince is behind the killing. Dale Hurd has our story.
After Tuesday's briefing by CIA Director Gina Haspel, senators are more convinced than ever that Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman is responsible for the murder of Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi. Khashoggi was last seen walking into the Saudi consulate in Istanbul in October. The CIA believes a Saudi hit squad killed him there on the Crown Prince's instructions, one of them reportedly using a bone saw. The White House is refusing to pin the blame on the Crown Prince, apparently afraid of damaging relations.
We have no smoking gun that the Crown Prince was involved.
But after Tuesday's CIA briefing, Republican Senator Lindsey Graham disagreed.
There's not a smoking gun, there's a smoking saw. You have to be willfully blind not to come to the conclusion that this was orchestrated and organized by people under the command of MBS.
I have zero question in my mind that the Crown Prince, MBS, ordered the killing, monitored the killing, knew exactly what was happening, planned it in advance. If he was in front of a jury, he would be convicted in 30 minutes, guilty.
The killing has become a major diplomatic problem for the White House. Militarily, Saudi Arabia is a staunch ally and a buffer against Iranian military expansion. A major arms sale to the Saudis is also in the offing. The Senate could vote to end that arms sale or end U.S. support for Saudi Arabia's war in Yemen. So far, President Trump has given the Saudi Crown Prince the benefit of the doubt about his role.
I don't know. I don't know. But whether he did or whether he didn't, he denies it vehemently.
And a Saudi spokesperson tweeted Tuesday, We categorically reject any accusations purportedly linking the Crown Prince to this horrific incident. But the evidence shown to senators indicates otherwise, and there's now increased pressure on the White House to admit that the Crown Prince is responsible. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
Thanks, Dale. You know, folks, it's a no-brainer. No-brainer. But there's a king over there, and all the president's got to do is say to the king, look, your boy has gotten out of hand. You've got to rein him in and put somebody else in his place. It's just that simple. And, you know, so why cover up for this fellow? He's a thug. I mean, why have an ally that's like that? He's repressive. He's brought, has all kinds of repressive action against his own people. Well, why cover up for him? The king can get him out. And Trump just needs to call the king and say, Your Majesty, there's too much heat on your boy. He's got to go. End of story. Well, there's new information coming out about a witness in the Russia investigation. It may mean more bad news for the president, or it may not. Ephraim Graham has that.
Pat, Robert Mueller is recommending no prison time for former Trump National Security Advisor Michael Flynn in the Russia investigation. Mueller noted Flynn's cooperation and substantial assistance in a legal memo. According to the heavily redacted documents, the former general was interviewed 19 times, providing information on interactions between the Trump transition team and Russian government officials. It also says Flynn is assisting with an unnamed criminal investigation. Turning overseas now, opponents of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu are calling on him to resign in the face of potential criminal charges. Israeli police recommended his indictment on charges of bribery and breach of trust. As Chris Mitchell now reports, some believe the entire investigation is a political coup by legal means.
The leader of Israel's far-left Meretz party demanded Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu step down.
A prime minister who is accused of the most serious offense for a public servant in the Israeli rulebook cannot keep serving for even one more day. He must resign today. Israel must go to elections.
Former Foreign Minister Tzipi Livni added to the chorus, saying Netanyahu reacted like a mob boss. Others see an entrenched bureaucracy at work.
We have some serious problems with what we call our deep state in Israel, where you have unaccountable clerks and public servants who stay on forever, and they have a very clear political agenda, which is not the agenda of the elected government or of the people who elected them.
Since the late 1990s, when Netanyahu first served as prime minister, he and his wife Sarah have faced 22 separate investigations.
The left, on the other hand, has completely discredited itself from so many different perspectives that it really has no chance of winning an election in the foreseeable future. They can't deal with the competence that he is bringing to bear in the prime minister's office that's making people like him or vote for him, even if they don't like him. And this is despite the fact that the media treatment of Netanyahu has been overwhelmingly and consistently negative for the past generation.
Middle East expert Carolyn Glick believes the police, the judiciary, and the media are determined to undermine Netanyahu. Glick sees a mirror image between what's happening here with Netanyahu and in the U.S. with President Trump.
They can't find an underlying crime. And so they're trying to go on process crimes. In Israel's case, in Netanyahu's case, they're saying that Netanyahu was bad because he made a deal which was legal, that the regulators approved, and they're trying to do this in order to unseat a sitting prime minister.
Despite the legal cloud, Glick sees hope for Israel's prime minister.
I don't think this is going to work in Israel's case because, again, the public supports Netanyahu, not because we love him, but because he's an excellent prime minister. We all should be disturbed both by what's happening in the United States and what's happening in Israel, obviously, and what's happening throughout the Western world, that we're seeing more and more of this trend, and it really has to be addressed and overturned.
Israel's Attorney General will make the final determination of any indictment of Netanyahu. His office has indicated there's not a specific deadline, and it's possible the decision may not come until the spring. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
A political coup by legal means. Pat?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's amazing, isn't it? These bureaucrats that are entrenched in these governments, don't care anything about the overall political picture. What they care about is their own little bailiwick, their little fiefdom, and they want to maintain power at all costs. And so when a disruptor comes in who says, I'm going to drain the swamp, I'm going to change things, all of a sudden in our company, you've got the FBI doing things, and you have clear evidence of members of the FBI trying to hurt Trump. You've got the Justice Department trying to do things to hurt Trump. And you've got others, of course, the media, like a pack of dogs, baying in pursuit of a fox. They're doing everything they can to take him out of office. And now then you have a political party that's opposed to him, like they do. They've got the party in Israel with Zippy Livni and others who say, we want to get rid of him. He's a terrific prime minister. He's a wonderful friend, and he is very strong. And what Israel needs is a strong leader against the people who are trying to destroy her. We need the same thing in America. We need a strong leader who is going to represent the interests of this nation against those who are trying to destroy her. It's a mirror image. And I hope the Israelis will recognize what Carolyn Glick said. You know, they're trying to get him on so-called process crimes. And, you know, you look at Michael Flynn, it's the same thing. I mean, he lied to some FBI agent or something when he was being interviewed. I mean, they haven't done anything wrong, and that's what the danger with Mueller and his investigation is. If he could ever get the president in there, he would get him on lying. That is perjury is the crime, not what anything he's ever done. But there's no way, given the makeup of our country and with the Senate the way it is, that any work of impeachment is going to succeed against Trump. You have a movement of impeachment in the House. They take a vote to impeach. Okay, big deal. Then it goes to the Senate. The Senate is the jury, and there's no way you're going to get a majority of the senators with the Republicans in charge, and you're going to vote against the president. So it's not going to happen. So it's like Don Quixote tilting at the windmills. They're not going to win. Same thing with Netanyahu. That bunch is not going to get him out. They just want to weaken him. Why would any nation want to weaken their leader? We want a strong leader, and let's do everything we can to support our leader, and let's hope the Israelis will do the same thing. Ephraim?
Pat, today is a national day of mourning for former President George H.W. Bush. Thousands of people have streamed through the National Rotunda to pay their respects. Among them, former Senator Bob Dole. The 95-year-old was helped from his wheelchair to stand and salute his longtime colleague and fellow World War II veteran. Today, George W. Bush will deliver the eulogy at the National Cathedral service. And Christian singer Michael W. Smith, a longtime friend of the Bush family, will sing Friends. The service begins at 11 a.m. Here in Washington, our CBN News team will have coverage and commentary on the CBN News channel. To find out where you can watch the news channel in your area, go to our website. That's cbnnews.com. American financial markets are closed today in honor of former President Bush. Investors are hoping stocks will bounce back tomorrow. The market had another brutal sell-off Tuesday, with the Dow Industrials dropping nearly 800 points. The sharp fall came amid new concerns the Trump administration won't be able to work out its trade disputes with China, and worries that interest rates may be signaling the economy is slowing down. Pat?
Well, there was an inversion on the interest rates that sometimes signals a decline. I'm pleased to report that some of the stocks that I had did very well.
How do you do that? You need to give us your secrets.
Well, for example, I thought gold was a good thing. There's a company called Barrick Gold. It's the top miner, and the fellow in charge of it, John Thornton, he used to run Goldman Sachs. He's a good man. And he has put some reforms in place, and Barrick is now a low-cost producer, and they've got the biggest bunch of gold. So I got Barrick Gold, a whole lot of shares, and lo and behold, they went up.
Gold went up when the 800.
That's right. Well, and regulated utilities. There's this thing called NextEra down there in Florida. They're probably the leading providers of solar and wind power, but they also have a regulated utility, Florida Power and Light. So that went up. So why buy stocks that are going to go down? but all these high flyers, you know,
But you're talking about singular stocks. You know, most people have mutual funds and they have 401ks.
You can get mutual funds and invest in various things.
Right.
Health care and defense and that sort of thing. I think defense stocks are going to go up. But right now, what we call the FANG stocks, you know, that had those high-flying stocks, they all went down. They'd gone too high already. So, but they haven't gone down that much, and they'll recover. But what'll happen is the dollar has been so strong versus other currencies, and there's no place else for people to invest their money, really. I mean, where would you put your money? You put it in French stocks? No way. You're going to go into Germany? You're going to go to Turkey? I mean, where are you going to put your money?
Yeah.
And really, there's no place. America is still the big powerhouse, and so ultimately, whatever is happening to the stock market going up, it's the Fed that's causing the problem. The Fed looks like they're going to raise interest rates, but the stock market is going to be strong, and the dollar is strong, and that, I think, is going to be the determining factor. So
it's a good time to invest still.
I think so. I wouldn't get rid of it, but be cautious. But, you know, if stocks, you know they're going to be paying good dividends, that's the key. And if you got something that's solid, then, you know, you're going to be successful. But this is no time for flyers on third world company stock. No way in heaven. They will be tanked in the next few years, all right?
All right, sounds good. Ephraim's got more for us.
Pat and Wendy, intermittent fasting may be the hot new way Hollywood celebrities lose weight, but this ancient discipline that's practiced in the Bible has other health benefits. As our Lori Johnson shows us, scientists have found remarkable health improvements that go way beyond the red carpet.
The Bible tells us fasting is good for our spiritual health, but new research shows it benefits our physical health too. The latest weight loss craze is intermittent fasting, which means going without food for a long period of time each day. Many people choose to fast up to 18 hours a day and only eat within a 4 to 6 hour window.
What's great about intermittent fasting is that you can do it some of the time or most of the time and still stand to reap great benefits.
Celebrities like Jennifer Lopez, Kourtney Kardashian, Selena Gomez, Beyonce, and Hugh Jackman reportedly choose intermittent fasting to lose weight. But researchers at the University of California and elsewhere say the benefits go beyond looking good.
There are 10 years of really interesting data and very compelling research studies on intermittent fasting, preventing atherosclerosis. There may be cancer prevention benefits.
And protection against Alzheimer's, heart disease, even aging, while boosting the immune system. Fasting triggers the release of old, inefficient cells, making way for new, healthy ones, doctors say.
Even though we would still recommend a healthy, balanced diet, we're not as focused on what you eat, rather when you eat.
So while ancient scripture tells us forgiveness, letting go of worry, and fasting bless the soul, modern medicine tells us these practices also benefit the body.
Well, the Bible says it again. Pat?
Well, Laurie's here to join us to talk about intermittent fasting. Apparently, when we fast, our body wants to mobilize its strength to fight off starvation, and it's that is the health benefit. What is released when that happens?
Well, it's true. Our bodies turn into a lean, mean fighting machine when we go into fasting. And we've known that fasting is something that health practitioners have been recommending for thousands of years. Hippocrates, the father of medicine, recommended it 400 years before Christ in ancient Chinese medicine. But as far as Western medicine, they need scientific proof. And now they have it. The results are in, and fasting is good for almost every area of the body, and they now know why. And it's a little thing called autophagy. It looks like autophagy. I've got a graphic here. Basically what this means is auto means self, phagy means consume. And what happens is within our cells consume damaged particles and portions in our cells and then regenerates them. So it's wonderful for all of our cells, including cancer cells. I mean, this is something that goes on, but when we fast, it accelerates it.
Well, you know, some people would think, well, there's got to be a 7-day fast or a 30-day fast or two. Actually, they're talking about, half a day or 1 day of fasting, and it doesn't have to be too long, does it?
Ideally, what you want to do when you're intermittent fasting, and you can do this every day of the week for every day of the year, is you go 16 hours without food.
Okay.
Actually 18 is even better, which basically means you have a 6-hour window of eating. I do it all the time. It's not that bad. I'll eat between 12 noon and 6 p.m. So basically you're just skipping breakfast. But it's something that this is what a lot of the health practitioners are recommended. Of course, it's not recommended for some people like pregnant women and people whose doctors have told them to eat a certain way. So but for generally healthy people, this is what you're talking about.
Well, it's like once a week. You don't have to do it all the time.
You don't have to do it all the time. Some people choose to have this as their regular lifestyle. Some people only do it every once in a while. But science has shown us that when we do fast like this, when we go for 18 hours without food or longer, that we have mental clarity. And we know from the Bible that a lot of times people will fast so that they will hear from the Lord, that they're seeking the Lord for direction in their lives. And also we know from the Bible that the enemy of our soul creates confusion, and that in the Bible we're told that when we fast, we can drive out demons. And this helps fasting, we know, drives out this spirit of confusion. So once again, science and the Bible link up. And I'm like, I could have told you that. Why'd you need to spend all this money on research?
Is there a book or a pamphlet or anything about this, by the way?
There's a lot of information on the internet. We have wonderful information on our website, cbnnews.com. But this has been shown to really affect intermittent fasting is really wonderful for our hormones. It increases the human growth hormone that makes us young and vibrant.
Okay.
And it also helps reduce heart disease and reduces our risk for diabetes. And, just when you think about it, again, getting back to the Bible, we're told to rest for 1 day. Well, our bodies need rest too. When our bodies aren't busy digesting food, they can self-cleanse, they can detox. So we're talking about our liver, our kidneys, our lungs, our colon, all detox when we're fasting.
Fabulous. All right, now we're talking about epigenetics, by the way. Does fasting have anything to do with that?
You're so good.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
All right.
When I was researching this, I thought Pat's going to love this because, yes, it's been shown that when we fast, it turns on the good genes and turns off the bad ones. And that's what epigenetics is for folks who aren't up to speed on it.
A question, by the way, that came in, and I want to throw it to you. This guy said, okay, we've done this gut flora thing. How do you know if your gut flora is good or bad?
That's a great question, and they're working on a test.
All right.
They're working on a test, but you just have to do your best. But there isn't, as we know, a test that accurately shows what your gut flora is, except there is one. There you go. Now you can talk about that on national TV because remember, people are eating right now.
I don't want to ruin their food, but that's the only test there is.
Right, a fecal test. And so for people who know what that means, they can examine it, and they really do find all kinds of information about what kind of bacteria, good and bad, you have in your intestines. And then they're doing the fecal transplants, which is a whole other thing. But that is actually very, very effective.
Well, amen. Well, I think we've helped a lot of people with that because it's, they're overweight and the thing that people didn't realize that in their gut there are little bugs that are causing them to overeat, and they're taking control of their brain. These things actually affect your brain, don't they?
There's a thing called the gut-brain axis.
Yeah.
And the bacteria in our gut directly affects our brain, even to the point where it influences things like Alzheimer's and dementia. And we hear so much these days about the rise in suicide and depression. And one has to wonder if that's associated with poor gut microbiome, because our gut microbiome is destroyed by antibiotics, processed food, sugar, and artificial sweeteners. And people are eating this food in greater quantities than ever before.
And they're sucking down these diet drinks, thinking that somehow that's going to make them thin. It actually makes them fat.
It has the reverse effect. You're right. The diet sodas have been shown in studies to actually cause weight gain.
Okay. Well, I think that's your Christmas present. And when do we start fasting right away? We should.
You know, you can fast in very many ways. Intermittent fasting, which is the new big craze, and it does lead to weight loss, but so many other health benefits. That is typically you fast for 18 hours a day, which means you just eat within a 6-hour window, which really means you just skip breakfast. And a lot of people are like, oh no, I have to have breakfast. Okay, then just skip dinner. Eat between, 6 in the morning and noon.
Okay.
Just whatever 6 hours you choose. But of course, there are lots of other ways to fast, and the Bible doesn't really specify how to fast. You can fast for 1 or 2 days, or have just a teeny tiny little bit of food for a week. 500 or 600 calories a day. There are lots of different ways to do it.
I remember we were in New York. Somebody said, well, we're going to have a fast. And what kind of fast? We said, no pleasant bread. And so what does that mean? They said, you're not going to eat dessert. Well, so we haven't been having dessert anyhow. So
that's not much of a fast.
No pleasant bread. That was a Daniel fast.
Yeah.
Well, Laurie, thank you so much. You're always up to date on these. Ladies and gentlemen, she's bringing you cutting edge epigenetics, the gut flora, this whole thing about intermittent fasting. This is, cutting edge medicine that is going to make people healthy, and especially with stuff like Parkinson's, which is so prevalent these days.
Yeah, and we're not flat out victims anymore. There are so many things we can do to prevent these neurodegenerative diseases like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. As far as a cure, not so much, because these brain cells are already dead, but we can do lots of things to keep them from dying in the first place. And speaking of brain issues, I'm going to be back on Monday on the 700 Club to talk about a very serious situation, CTE, the brain disease that we know has affected football players, but now we're talking about people in the military, people who are victims of spousal abuse, anybody who gets hit in the head. And guess what? Concussions do not cause it anymore. It's hits to the head. So you can get CTE without ever having a concussion. So this is a must watch for folks, especially parents who want their boys to play football. Mama, don't let your babies grow up to be football players.
Amen. I've got a grandson who's a terrific football player, had a scholarship. He goes into practice and he gets kicked in the head. He gets a serious concussion. I said, will you quit there? He said, yeah, I'll finally quit. I said, well, I would have told you to stop before, because who cares about whether you were a star in some second-rate football team when what matters is what's going on with your brain. And if you have your brain's addled, it's not going to help you.
And CTE is so horrible. It really just robs you of your personality. This is another thing that causes suicide to go up. And I also have a son who played football, and I had a false sense of security, as I'm sure a lot of parents do. I thought, oh, well, he's never had a concussion. He's fine. Not true. It's not about concussion. It's about getting hit in the head. And they say that these football players, in practice and in games in just one season, they'll get hit in the head violently hundreds of times.
Plus girls playing soccer hit the ball with their head over and over and over again.
Right.
Well,
so that's Monday.
I interviewed the doctor who came up with that concept. He's a wonderful man, and boy, the National Football League went after him.
Ooh, right.
Terrible, trying to sue him to keep from releasing his findings. But anyhow, we'll talk about that Monday. So that gives you something to look forward to. Winnie, you're the greatest. Thank you so much. God bless you.
I feel healthier just listening to you guys. All right, well, coming up, why one historian says America may be on the brink of disaster. But the good news is there's still hope to reclaim our future. David Barton explains next.
Well, it may seem as if America is in the middle of another gilded age. The economy is roaring ahead. It's up. Unemployment has reached record lows. But author David Barton says, don't be fooled. We're at a precarious moment in our history.
David Barton is a constitutional expert and the founder of Wall Builders, a national pro-family organization. He says we must address certain issues, like racial division, a growing immigration crisis, and declining church attendance, if we are to survive as a nation.
Every single revival will affect public policy. It will change your laws. It will always do that.
As the co-author of This Precarious Moment, David highlights the causes for chaos in our country and offers urgent steps we can take to be a part of the solution today.
Well, David Barton's here with us. He's the author of this new book. It's called This Precarious Moment, 6 Urgent Steps That Will Save You and Your Family. David, what's precarious? What's happening? Good to see you.
We're kind of standing on the brink in 6 specific areas, and they're all areas that we've dealt with in history before. But this generation, we're trying to decide whether we're going to walk off the cliff or not. And so we have some decisions to make. These areas, no nation has ever come back if they've made the wrong decision. So we do have some decisions to make.
Those that failed to heed the lessons of history are doomed to live them again.
That's right.
What are some of these precarious steps?
Well, one of the first thing we point to is racial relations, where we are with the racial relations. And what we do is we say, these are things that can be solved individually. So what we do in the book is say, here are individual things that you as a person can do to make a difference in this area. So racial relations, immigration, where we are with our relationship with Israel. And although President Trump has made it so much better, we're at a point now where that last year we had 1,600 anti-Israel events on campuses. We have doubled hate crimes against Jewish people in the last year. Right now, millennials, 66% of millennials have never heard of Auschwitz. 22% don't know what the Holocaust is.
66 have never heard of Auschwitz?
Never heard of it.
Come on.
And so we're losing our historical memory on things. So we're deciding, Jews aren't that great. And so what we're seeing with Airbnb and what they're doing with not wanting to rent to Jewish folks because of what's happening in Israel, that kind of anti-Semitism is up. But we can fix that individually. We point to millennials, where millennials are. Right now in college, 75% of college students want us to be a socialistic nation.
Come on, are you serious?
75%.
Do they know what socialism is?
That's the thing. They do not. Talking to George Barna, he recently did a poll where 41% of Americans want socialism, but he went and asked an additional 41 questions. And once they found out what it was, only 2% actually wanted it. So what happens is they don't know what it is, but they want it. And we have 53% of students in college right now who think that free speech should not be protected, and 19% of college students think that violence is an acceptable response to free speech you disagree with. So these are all precarious moments. So what do we do to change it? And that's really what we focus on.
Well, you mentioned immigration. What did the founding fathers say about immigration? You brought out Jefferson's thoughts and others. What did they think about it?
It's interesting. They were huge pro-immigration guys in the sense that of the 39 guys who signed the Constitution, 7 of them were immigrants. And the immigrant guys said, man, if we had voted when we first got to America, we would have made America like the countries we came from. They said, you need time here because this is such a different nation. And so they're the ones who set up the time parameters. One of them, Pierce Butler from South Carolina, said, look, I'm an immigrant. Nobody should be allowed to vote in America until you've been here 14 years. Well, they actually settled on 5 years, is what the Constitution says. So they did not allow immigrants to vote until you've been here 5 years. You learn the system. You know what's happening. We've got in California right now registering illegals to vote. Well, that'll make America just like the country they came from. Founding fathers were a huge pro-immigration, but they wanted assimilation and they wanted education to go with it.
I've read that about the illegal immigrants are about, 4 million that are on welfare?
It's higher than that. It's about 63% now. They get some. 63. They get some form of government assistance.
They're illegal immigrants.
And the founding fathers were very adamant that if you come to America and go on public assistance within 5 years, you'll be deported. You have to support yourself when you get here.
Are you serious?
That was founding father policy.
You've been here for 5 years and you don't support yourself, you got to be deported?
You got to be able to support yourself for 5 years, and you can't come unless a religious society gives a recommendation of your character. So you had to have good moral character. The extreme vetting is what the founding fathers got started back in the beginning.
Why is everybody so, who wants this open borders thing? Is the idea you got an uninformed electorate that they'll be malleable and therefore they'll vote Democratic? Is that the idea?
Well, there's such a progressive thinking, and this is what we see in schools with the kids wanting socialism. That progressive thinking says we're globalist, we're all one, you shouldn't have any borders anywhere in the world. And so we see that with Europe, with Poland pushing back now, saying, no, we're not doing the immigration thing the EU's doing, and the Czech Republic and Hungary and others. Those younger European nations are going in the direction that America went, but here in America, they're trying to push us in the direction of that globalism. But that's a progressive thinking. I mean, that's just what we faced for years.
You talk about America being a postmodern. What do you think, and why do you think so?
Well, we don't know our history anymore. I mean, quite frankly, we just do not teach history. We see right now that we have 92% of immigrants who come to America can pass the history test in America. Only 7% of high school seniors can pass the immigration test. Our kids who have been 12 years in school don't know anything about this country. The immigrants coming in know much more than we do.
Is this a plot from the teachers' union somehow to dumb down our citizens? I mean, the kids really can't read and write. I mean, they get through.
Yeah, we have 19% in any given year right now. 19% of kids graduate from school 100% illiterate. 19%, 1 out of 5 kids.
Wait a minute, graduate from public school, 19% are illiterate?
Cannot read or write at all, and that's after we spend $164,000 for them to get an education. 19% are illiterate. So we have a very messed up education system. It does not do well. We no longer do the testing the way we used to. We used to have national tests where we said, oh, Texas is 45th and Mississippi's 32nd. Now every state does its own test, so you can't compare the states to see where education is. Everybody feels good about themselves because they've got their own test.
Well, what do you think is going on? I mean, has it been a deliberate attempt? I mean, you know, this new way of reading, you know, this is a monkey. You learn to, because he's got a tail. They don't do phonics, they don't learn math, they don't learn these practical skills.
They don't learn these skills anymore, and even in history, which is something we both love and believe that you can learn from, whatever generation you're in, you can learn from the past. Right now, of the top 76 universities in America, if you go there as a history major, in 64 of those 76 universities, you will not take a single course on American history. You get everybody else's history, you will get no American history, and that's as a history major. So we're moving, University of Wisconsin is dropping history as a major at all. You can't even take the history major if you want it. So we're determined to move away from who we've been. We don't want anybody to know what we've done or what our government is. The average length of a constitution in the history of the world is 17 years. Newsflash, we've had ours 231 years. That's good. But we don't even tell kids that we're different from other nations. We'll say we're just like everybody else. No, America's special, but it won't stay special if we do what every other nation's done. And we just can't do that. And that's really why we wrote the book.
Was this a communist? I mean, who's behind all this? I mean, somebody's got to be behind it.
Pat, it's a worldview thing because, quite frankly, if you believe in evolution, then you've got to believe that man is always moving forward. I mean, the founding fathers used horses. We can't learn from them. And so the first thing you drop in evolution is history because we've evolved past where they were. We can't learn from history. We won't make the mistakes they did. So you move history, and if you're always evolving, then you believe that man is inherently good, which means you don't need restraints on government. Big government is what you need because man's good and they'll do the right thing for you. And so it's a worldview issue that you get into. And when you have that non-biblical worldview or a progressive secular worldview, you get rid of history, you have big government, you have social programs because the government's going to take care of you because we're inherently good. And that's just not what the Bible teaches, and that's not what history teaches.
Well, that sounds like the French Revolution. It's Rousseau.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
But you're talking history, Pat. You can't talk history. Nobody studies history anymore.
They chopped a bunch of people's heads off because of that. Remember the guillotine?
40,000 in a short period of time they used the guillotine on.
That's right. David, I hope people get this book. It's available wherever. This Precarious Moment, where do they sell this?
Any major book distributor will have it online, wallbuilders.com, Amazon, any of them will have it.
Right. David Barton is a brilliant scholar. I just appreciate his view and what he's got to say. He's a fountain of learning, and I think this book I commend to all of you. David, thank you so much.
Thanks, Pat.
God bless
you, bro.
All right. Wendy, what's next?
Well, up next, confessions from a stripper.
It's glamorous and this attention's on you. And the money, when someone's laying down $100 bills at your feet, how do you say no to that? It's like a drug.
Watch how she finally kicks the habit after this.
Welcome back to the 700 Club. The Trump administration is urging Europe to impose tough new sanctions on Iran over its ballistic missile program. This comes after the U.S. and others condemned the Iranian missile launch over the weekend. U.S. Special Envoy for Iran Brian Hook told reporters Iran's continued missile development is a threat to the region and defies UN Security Council demands. Hook said U.S. talks with Europe center on slapping penalties on companies and people involved in Iran's program. Starbucks has announced it will filter its Wi-Fi beginning next year. Business Insider reports the coffee giant will employ a tool to prevent customers from viewing pornography or other explicit content in stores. Watching pornography is banned at Starbucks locations, but the chain does not currently have content blockers on its Wi-Fi service. The company is testing multiple tools, hoping to avoid accidentally blocking unoffensive sites. Remember, you can always get the latest from CBN News by going to our website. It's cbnnews.com. Pat and Wendy are back with more of today's 700 Club right after this.
The men covered her with $100 bills. They threw $100 bills at her. She was so good at what she did. Her name is Dana, and Dana loved being a stripper. She loved the glamour. She loved the attention, and more than anything, she loved all those $100 bills that were thrown at her feet. But after 7 years, Dana was addicted to that lifestyle. And then suddenly, all she wanted was a way out.
I remember walking up the stairs and seeing lights everywhere. It was very, very dark, but money was flying everywhere. I mean, money was everywhere.
It was survival that compelled Dana Candio to step onto a stripper stage for the first time.
And the thing that hit me was my bills. The things that I needed money for, those things were no longer my problem.
Dana grew up in Independence, Missouri, where she lived in poverty. Her mom was a teenage drug addict and alcoholic, and her father was a convict. She felt no one cared. Then, at age 8, she was sexually abused by an acquaintance of her mom's.
Just shattered, total brokenness. I felt like something was wrong with me.
But that only deepened her need to be loved and accepted. By age 12, she found it through partying, drinking, and using drugs.
And I'm searching anywhere for love, for attention, for someone just to notice that I existed or to care.
In high school, she started getting work as a model and entering beauty contests. She liked the money, and finally, she was getting noticed. When Dana was 17, the owner of a tanning salon she frequented approached her about entering bikini contests. She agreed, only to discover later he had other plans for her.
And the next thing that I knew, he began calling my house, and there was harassment, coercion, manipulation, started talking to me about dancing. The amounts of money that were being talked to me about was difficult to say no to.
He booked Dana at a strip club in Nebraska. Her first night on stage led to 7.5 years in the industry.
You feel like it's glamorous and this attention's on you. And the money, you know, when someone's laying down $100 bills at your feet, how do you say no to that? It's like a drug. I mean, it turns into an addiction.
She later married and had a baby, but the marriage ended in divorce, and Dana, now a single mom, had to keep dancing to make ends meet. A few years later, she became pregnant again and had an abortion.
I didn't know what to do because I was absolutely overwhelmed with feelings of fatherlessness. How could all I could think about is how could I bring another child into this world and allow them to feel like I felt like unwanted and not have a dad. I was probably in the deepest, lowest part of my life at that point. And I started thinking about, I had a 4-year-old daughter. What if I'm her role model? What if she decided to follow in my footsteps? And that set off this reign of terror in me.
One day she got a call from her mother. She had become a Christian and invited Dana to church.
She completely gave up cigarettes, alcohol. It's like miraculous. And watching that transformation process happen, it caused me to go and see what's happening. When my feet hit the carpet in that place, I felt this incredible rushing power. It was like electric ocean waves, just over and over and over. And I wanted to go forward. I had that drive and that desire to go forward, but I started to hear this whisper, you don't have a plan for that. You better not go down there and commit to that. And I was reminded about what I needed to do to make money. And so it caused me that day to walk back out the door.
The next Sunday, Dana went back to the church.
I went straight to the altar and fully surrendered my life, and my life's never been the same again. I cried out to God and said, please help me. If you are real, please come in and invade me, invade my life, invade my heart, show me what to do, and I will do it. I felt this real, authentic encounter with him. It created this drive and this passion to change, because he says, I am your father. You're not fatherless.
For the first time, Dana felt loved. She never returned to the stage and went on to earn her bachelor's degree in science and became a registered nurse. Today, she works in full-time ministry and is married to Rocky, a youth pastor. Dana tells her story in her book titled Surrendered Showgirl. She reaches out to women in the sex industry through her ministry, Lions Beauty Queens.
God is so great. I mean, if he could take a messed up girl like me that was in that deep of a pit, and he could somehow miraculously reach down and he says, girl, I've got you. I'm gonna pull you out of this thing. And if he can do that for me, he can do that for anyone.
The glory of God, the splendor of God. She felt like something she'd never felt in her life. She felt the power of God. All that stuff in the sex industry was nothing compared to feeling the power of God. He is awesome. And when his Shekinah glory appears, when the glory of God appears, it eclipses everything you've ever heard or ever known. It is wonderful. It is glorious. It is the power of Almighty God. He is the author of everything. He is, as she found out, Dana found out, he's the real Father. He said, I'm the one about whom all the families on earth are named. I am the Father. And Jesus said, my Father in heaven, hallowed be thy name. He's our Father. He is the author of all of us. He brought us all into being. And Dana realized that, and the glory of the Lord came into her life. And all the rest of it that she'd had, and all the money and all the stuff that went on, and all the heartache was eclipsed. It was gone. Now, I don't know if you've been sexually molested. I don't know if you've had property problems. I don't know if you've been abandoned by your parents. I don't know whether you've had a bad marriage. I don't know whether you've had a husband who beats you up. I don't know whether you've had a wife that was unfaithful to you. I don't know what's going on in your life. But I'll tell you something. The glory of God will eclipse all of that. It'll give you a new hope and a new promise and a new song, and your heart will be thrilled at what God has done. And if you want that, I want you to pray with me right now. You've got a short time right now. Just bow your head and pray these words. Jesus, pray with me. Jesus, I want you, Lord. I need you, Lord. I need you, Lord. Please forgive me. Come into my heart. Wash away my sin. Live your life in me. And from this moment on, I'm yours. Thank you, Lord. You've heard my prayer. Now, if you prayed with me that prayer, I want to give you a little booklet that's called A New Day. I want to give you something, and I want you to call right now and tell this person on the phone that you've just made that decision. Our telephone number is easy to remember. It's toll-free, no financial burden whatsoever. 1-800 free call, 700-7000. And just say, I just prayed with Pat. I gave my heart to Jesus. And I want to send you this little book, A New Day. Call right now. Say, look, I have just come to the Lord. Yeah, if you confess with your mouth and believe in your heart, you will be saved. God's got something wonderful for you. We'll leave you with today's Power Minute from the Psalms. You open your hand and satisfy the desire of every living thing. For Wendy and all of us, this is Pat Robertson. Thank you so much for being with us, and we will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.